Hello and welcome to another episode of Guts and Guns, where we talk about the things that matter. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Guts and Guns. My name is Derek, and today we're going to talk about something that I think is fraud on the people of California when it comes to buying guns. But real quick, I want to mention our sponsor for our episodes, which is American Preparedness Academy, www.savelives101.com. They teach people how to save other people's lives and sell guns as well. All right, with that out of the way, let's get down to business. So, if you guys don't know, an FFL is a federally licensed firearms dealer. When it comes to being able to buy and sell guns in the United States of America. So it's pretty much a nationwide thing when it comes to the FFL license. That being said, you also have to jump through a few hoops to become a firearms dealer in the state of California. So the federal government has their licensing program for the FFL, and then California has a separate licensing program for firearms dealers in the state of California, which is a separate fee, and it is something that you have to pay every single year on, not every couple of years like an FFL is. And it costs about the same amount of money as becoming an FFL, and a lot more hoops to jump through. So it's not an easy task to become a firearms dealer in the state of California, no matter where you live. It is easier in some counties than others, but once you become a firearms dealer, you kind of see the inside of things. If you're really paying attention, you see the insides of how things are working and what California is pretty much doing to the residents of the state of California. Now, you're going to find that I don't speak of this on a political level. I don't speak of anything that happens in California in the terms of Democratic, Republican, Independent, whatever. Okay, so I don't talk that way, and I don't care to. I base my political views and the things that I do off of the Constitution of the United States, which is not political. So, as most people know, probably everybody knows, we are a republic here in the United States of America, and we are rule of law. And our laws actually dictate how we should be doing our daily duties and what we do in this country. Now, we have laws to cover pretty much everything out there. We have laws in the books for everything. Murder, stealing, petty theft, pretty much everything you can think of. So we're not going to go down that rabbit hole per se or get too far out into the weeds in that. But the thing I'm going to talk about today is actually the background check system in the state of California. Now, if anybody has bought a gun here, they know that buying a gun in the state of California requires you to jump through a couple of hoops. You got to fill out the 4473 form, plus you got to fill out the DROS form, or the FFL has to fill out the DROS form and submit that to the state of California. And I find it very interesting that the state of California charges a fee for the DROS. They make it very difficult for people to buy a firearm. And how they make it difficult is by charging you a lot of money. Now, I don't know if any of you know how the system works, but the federal government has set up a background check system that is required for every FFL purchase, what I should say is firearm purchase through an FFL. And that is the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, or what they call NICS, N-I-C-S. This NICS system, it conducts background checks on people who want to own a firearm or explosives as required by law. Okay? The process is pretty simple. When you try to buy a firearm, the seller, that would be an FFL most often, would contact NICS electronically. They can also do it by phone. And the prospective buyer will fill out that 4473. And then the FFL relays all that information to the NICS. They then perform a background check on that person who's buying the firearm or explosive or whatever it is. The background check verifies the buyer does not have any criminal record or doesn't have anything else that makes them ineligible to purchase or own a firearm. So this system was launched in 1998, and there's been more than 3 million checks since that time. And probably more than 1.5, I believe their statistics are 1.5 million denials. So this system has been in play and actually done a whole lot of things for the country as far as background checks go. They're pretty much available all the time for most hours every day. Anybody could be open. The e-check is open all the time. So, I mean, it uses this system, and it does a pretty good job doing it. So it's really hard to say that, this is bad. Now, this being said, this system's free. Okay, so you pretty much sign into it, show them that you're an FFL, and then you fill out the 4473, and then you call the NICS system or send an electronic thing to the NICS system, and you're able to get everything taken care of very quickly. Now, you guys do realize this is NICS, so it's National Instant Criminal Background Check System. Literally, you get an answer back in a few minutes or less. It's very quick, like less than a minute. And all of this stuff, again, is set up so that people can very quickly find out if you have access to the system, if you have a criminal background and you're not able to own a gun at this point. Now, recently there's been some controversy about the new 4473 form, the federal firearms form, that is required to be filled out when you purchase a firearm. And personally, I don't see too much of a problem with it, other than it's going to be, people talk about it being organized to set up a registry, and okay, it still doesn't set one up. So maybe it's organized to do so, but it's not what it's doing. So just so everybody realizes, this isn't something that I'm too concerned about at this point in time, although I know they are trying to set up some sort of registry throughout the entire country right now, and that is a big problem. We can talk about that in another podcast. Okay, so we've kind of talked about the federal forms and the federal fees and the federal things that go on with the FFLs. You kind of understand that side of it. Let's talk about the California side of it. Now, to get your FFL, you have to go through a lot of hoops, like I said, and then once you get your FFL, you will then be able to submit it to the state of California, which then you can apply for a DOJ firearms dealer's license for the state of California. Now, that sounds kind of funny, right? You have to get a firearms license to get a firearms license. And yeah, it's kind of stupid. But it's a whole nother set of hoops you got to jump through, and it's completely ridiculous. So they require you to get all kinds of different certifications in order to do this, on top of the certifications that you already got to become an FFL. So getting a dealer's license in the state of California is very difficult, and a lot of people have asked me, hey, how hard is it to get your FFL? I just tell them, look, if you think you can do it, do it. It's not easy. You will have to jump through a lot of hoops, but once you do it, hey, I think it's worth it. I think everybody should be able to get one. So I encourage people to get their 03 license, their firearms dealer's license, their FFL 03, which allows you to actually get ammunition shipped straight to you, and you don't have to go through the ammunition background checks. Now, you got to pay a couple $100 a year, or a couple $100 every couple years to have this license. It might be $100. It might be $200 to actually get it, and $100 every 2 years. So if you're an avid shooter or you shoot a lot, it's worth the money to do it, because that's going to save you on transfer fees and anything else that everybody else has over time. So anyways, California, yes, has an ammo transfer fee. It's completely ridiculous as well. So without going too far down that rabbit hole on top of everything else, we'll just continue on with what we're talking about. All right, so California charges a DROS fee. And the DROS fee is actually $31.19. And it's supposed to cover the cost of background checks and transfer registry. That's what they call that. Now, the total state fee is $37.19. And they come to that because they add a couple of different fees to it. And the first one, obviously, is the $31.19 for the DROS fee. And then there's a $1 Firearms Safety Act fee. Now, that money is supposed to go to teaching people about the safety of firearms. And then there is a $5 safety and enforcement fee. So what they're doing is they're charging you a fee, and they call these fees because they can't tax you on this legally. And that's the law, because you can't be taxed for a right. Okay? So the Constitution allows our right, but they're charging fees because this is what cost them to do this work. Now, what they did was they created an entire agency just to be able to create fees. Okay, so understand that they used our tax dollars to create an agency, and then they charge fees to keep that agency going. All right? Now, do you remember what I told you about NICS? Yes, you're right. NICS is free. It's a free system that the federal government set up so that people can do background checks and make it good, because it's a right for us to be able to own firearms, so they're not charging for it. Federal government is across all 50 states, and the NICS system is across all 50 states. Now, I bet by now you're starting to put two and two together. Yes, the California DROS system, background check system, uses NICS. So, why are they charging us for it? Why is there a fee? Well, because there's a person there that has to put the paperwork all together, right? What paperwork? They're not supposed to be keeping it. The law clearly states that they are not allowed to keep the paperwork. Do you know who keeps the paperwork? The FFL, the firearms dealer. Yeah, it goes in boxes and sits on their shelves for a very long period of time. Please, if you have a reason, or you can think of a reason why California needs to charge us more fees to own firearms, please tell me. But see, to me, this is fraud on the American people in the state of California. And I think if more people understood this and actually dealt with this, or stood up and said something about it, it would change. Unfortunately, very few people will. So, I'm one of those people. I believe that the DROS system should go away. I believe that the roster should go away. I believe that assault weapons are nothing but a way for the government to control us. All these things are just to control. And we have people in government who do not want us to have guns, period, no matter what. They don't want us to have them because they don't want us to have the power. And the people do have the power, and we're just letting them take it from us. So the DROS system is a big farce. The NICS system is what we should be using, although California is using it. They're just not letting us use it as FFLs or firearms people who sell guns. And because California thinks that they can do it better, this is why they charge us these fees. So if you're tired of paying all these extra fees that we have in the state of California now, this goes across the board, but this is just a very small version of it, because firearms is very small industry, comparatively speaking, to like automobiles or the DMV. And we could go into that as well, but it goes across the board. Everything you do, they're charging fees for. And these fees are in lieu of taxes, because we have these rights and we have these things, and they call them fees or whatever the case, so that they don't have to tell you that you're being taxed. All right. This all being said, I hope you guys are seeing the picture I'm trying to paint for you here, and that this is really important, that this extra money that you're paying to the government is them using your money against you at that point. So when they come to take your guns, they'll have plenty of money to do so if they decide they're going to do that. I don't know if they're brave enough to do that. They might be at some point in time in the future. You never know. But that's really a topic for another day. So anyways, a quick recap here on this particular subject. Obviously, the DROS system is it's skewed against the people of the state of California. And they're consistently showing us their true colors when people start actually looking at this and exposing them for what they are, which is just a bunch of people who want money in their pockets or money in their coffers to do whatever they want, whenever they want, and however they want. I am pretty sure that the $31.19 is not necessary at all. And I don't believe that the DROS system is necessary at all. So, like I said, a quick recap. The NICS system, the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, is a federally, FBI, federally operated criminal background system check for people who want to buy firearms. That system is free. That system is picked on all the time for every firearm purchase out there. So people go out there and use that system. Now, that's also for the state of California. The state of California does not do their own background check system. Why? Because the state of California can only do the state of California legally. They have to do the NICS system. That's the only way they have a national background check system, is by using NICS, because that's the only one set up out there. So if anyone tells you, no, they have their own system, yeah, they have their own system, but they use NICS in their system, period. They can't use anything else. And that's just the way it goes. So they charge you $37.19, which is a $31.19 DROS fee, plus a $1 Firearms Safety Act fee and a $5 safety and enforcement fee, for a total of $37.19. For a system that is free for them to use, and the FFLs can use it directly. They don't even need that Department of Government, the DROS system, to do it at all, because we can literally, FFLs could literally access that system on their own. They don't need the California DROS system to do so. And a background check would get done the same way California would do a background check, and all around the whole deal. Now, California already has a system in place. It's called the Department of Justice, DOJ, to report the information in California to NICS, and they do. They already do that. That's why they use NICS, because all of their information is reported to NICS all the time. It's all the data that they gather across the country for everything else out there. So if you guys are thinking that California's got this unique system going on, yeah, unique to screw the taxpayer and the residents here in the state of California. Look, I don't care which side of the fence you're on. This is really simple. They are violating our constitutional rights by adding another fee, even though they call it a fee. Legally, that's what they do, in order to charge us more money to have our rights. And I believe it's time that everyone should stand up and say, we're done. But hey, I'm just the guy giving you the information. Everyone has to decide that they're done when they're done. All right, guys, that's pretty much what I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I gave you some information to chew on and think about. If you've got questions, please ask. You guys know how to reach us. You can go to our website, which is gutsandguns.com. And you can also email us at ask.gutsandguns@gmail.com. If you guys like the information that I'm reporting, please support us. You can do that by going to Anchor and actually supporting our podcast. It's the first time I'm asking for this, and I don't expect it. It would just be nice to get it. And we'll talk to you in the next one. Well, that's it for this episode, folks. We hope you tune in for the next one. Until then, have a great week.